Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? No? All right. My name is Adam Cicchetti. I work at Deja Vu Security. We do hardware penetration testing for firmware, chips, custom kernels, kernel drivers, things of that nature. Had a brief stint at Amazon for 2 years, and then Leviathan for 3 years, and now I'm independent. So, go ahead, man.
Yeah, here, can you hear me all right? Yeah. My name is Esteban Gutierrez. I'm just some guy. I work at a big Fortune 500 company who wishes to remain anonymous. I've been doing information security for about 14 years. I've been in e-commerce, DoD networks, designed massive enterprise network security infrastructures for some parts of the Army, and I really like cyborgs. Cyborgs are awesome. I really like cyborgs. Ever since I saw Luke Skywalker's hand, ever since I watched The Bionic Man, Steve Austin. Some people here don't even know who Steve Austin is. Fuck you. But dead cyborgs are less awesome. They're not quite as awesome as real active live cyborgs. Unless, of course, we're at war with those cyborgs. In which case, dead cyborgs are good. So what is a cyborg? You know, there's a lot of talk about it and different ways of thinking about it. There's a really great talk by a woman named Quinn Norton that was at 2006 TourCon, a few other places as well, like TED. And she does a really great overview of what that means. We've modified ourselves with technology since pretty much time immemorial. Tools like shovels, bows and arrows, contact lenses. I forget what SEM stands for. Chemicals, caffeine. We've done a lot to ourselves to both extend our bodies, to extend our capabilities, to make things better for ourselves. Vaccines are a cyborg art in some sense because it allows us to outlive how we would normally live. A lot of that stuff was just seen as magic in some ages. Machines, computers. Good, next slide. And for the past, for the most part, all those merging of technology with people has really been external, right? You can put down a tool. You can turn off your iPhone or G1, most of us. You can stop drinking caffeine. Yeah, I know it's a lie. You can fix a car. You can reformat your computer, right? But with cyborg or cybernetic or bionic type scenarios, technology becomes a part of you. You can't, right now the primary impact or the primary area where this is happening is implants, right? So you can't easily remove them. You can't update them, or it's difficult to update them. You can't really, there's issues with patching and upgrading. It's like these are things that are somehow inside you or part of you, and there's a lot of good questions that come up there. So what is a cyborg? There's a lot of definitions out there. It's an integration of a we decided on this one just because it sounded nice and generic. It's an integration of a biological organism and technology into a whole. There's Luke Skywalker's hand. NASA did this really kind of cool model prior to sending people up into space. The whole point of it being, what do we need to how do we need to modify a person before they can live in space? I don't think I can even begin to explain that Venn diagram. It's just kind of fucking crazy. So. Here's some example of cyborgs. Amy Millan on the left there. She's I don't know. She's well known in acting circles. She's got different legs than you and I do, or most of us here do. And she's actually as capable of running much faster than at least me and some other people that I know who are really fast. This little child on the here was born with congenital ear defects, and once he got cochlear implants, he could hear his mom talking to him and started actually reacting to her. Down in the bottom is, what's her name? Kat Wilkins, I believe. If you subscribe to National Geographic, you should. The January article had a very long review of her technology and what's going on with her. You'll see all those sensors on her stump, and that plugs into a cybernetic arm that reads the signals that are being sent down to muscle groups that have been rewired surgically to react to various nerves that essentially, in essence, all she needs to do is think about moving her arm, and the arm moves and reacts in the way that a normal arm would. And there's constant upgrades going on in her technology to make it actually safe and seem somewhat natural. It's a pretty amazing article, actually. Here's a cyborg being detained by a robot. The war has already started.
So why now, right? I mean, basically science fiction writers and a lot of other people have been talking about technologies and cyborgs and science fiction for a very, very long time. Well, we're actually on the cusp of a very, very interesting event. We're entering what we've kind of termed the coined the term even, the hospital age. So we have the largest group of individuals ever in the history of man about to enter the period of their life where they're constantly in and out of hospitals. And a lot of these individuals are going to walk out of hospitals with implants in them, brand new cutting edge technology. And a lot of these people will, be guinea pigs and take, whatever implants they're being given to try and extend their life or to try to get a better quality of life back. So thank you, baby boomers, for giving us this really awesome, wonderful, possible opportunity to actually talk about how the security of implants and cyborgs is going to affect us in the near future. So let's talk about how we've totally failed. We've already completely and utterly failed. So we've anonymized these products. These pictures are not the same products as the ones we're going to talk about, but a friend.
So if you work at one of these companies and you see your product, please don't take offense.
Yes.
And don't sue us.
My friend's father, who is 65 years old, has Bluetooth-enabled hearing aids. This allows him to have a better quality of life. He pairs his hearing aids with his cell phone so that he can hear the incoming calls and talk back on the cell phone. I'm sitting at breakfast with my friend and his father, and I look at him and I go, so when you paired that thing, what was the password? It turns out it's 4 zeros, and it's unchangeable. So I want to spend a little bit of time in southern Florida at some point, just kind of driving around and being God for a little while. But that's
You must rewrite your will. Send all your money to Adam Cicchetti.
We've totally failed. We've already failed at this. So this is based on the UW work that was WU work, sorry, done a little while ago by Kevin Fu and group. And so this is an implantable cardiovascular defibrillator. Basically, this thing when you're
See the little lump on his chest right there?
yeah, kind of in the upper right-hand corner. This man's very proud of his defibrillator.
Talk about that in a sec.
No.
Yeah.
So this thing basically detects whether or not your heart has stopped and then gives you a shock and wakes you back up. As it turns out, it's wirelessly controlled over an unencrypted protocol and can be programmed remotely from a range of about 15 centimeters, but that means I have to bump into somebody in the subway to reprogram their defibrillation device.
And with the proper antenna technology, and I think you can extend that distance, as some of you know. This picture I found on Flickr, just a random image. This is what's his name? Oh God, it's in the notes. But anyways, he was very proud of his ICD and just posted it up there, along with all the pictures of the cute boyfriends that he has and stuff. So he's cool.
No, for real. We have totally, utterly, completely failed. So they have deep brain electrode implants for individuals that have Parkinson's,
Tremors and extreme cases of OCD. Anybody in the crowd?
Anyone? Again, this thing is programmed wirelessly from a handheld device, and it has patterns that it sends for your particular disease or for Parkinson's or OCD. And you can reprogram the patterns as well as the intensity, and this changes the behavior of the area that it's stimulating to either, kind of jolt you back from shaking or to kind of pull you back from being completely focused on something. And this is a real X-ray. This picture is real from one of these implants. So this is what you can control wirelessly inside of somebody's brain.
We failed already.
All right. I think you're starting to see a theme here. We have completely and utterly failed. Not only have we failed in the current generation of technology, but we failed in the stuff that we're about to build. All of the current technology right now isn't actually being extended to do anything else. They decided that a lot of these things are good, but what would be really great is if your doctor could have live updates from your device. And so a lot of these medical reporting infrastructures are based on old telephony technology or now VoIP technology. And all of these protocols are basically unencrypted. All of this information is being sent back to the doctors and reporting back whether or not you're in good condition or bad condition is sniffable and viewable. The next generation is even better. If any of you ever played Shadowrun, the whole medvac thing that would come and pick you up when your character dies, that's next. So the next generation will be GSM and GPS enabled. So when you've fallen over from a heart attack or your liver has failed, they'll send an ambulance right to your location. So if you can think about it, a lot of the people that are going to have these types of implants initially are going to be really, really rich individuals or political characters that are, of high value. So being able to denial of service, their ambulance service to come pick them up from having a heart attack, or being able to just swarm ambulances over a particular convention becomes a very interesting scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not even going to be GSM. It's going to be WiMAX and 4G that's going to be going there. So, and think about, right now, how many of you are ripping out or have already ripped out modem banks from whatever sort of intercompany connections you have, and you're replacing them with VPN connections or web-tied, application-enabled interfaces on your DMZ. Well, that's what they're doing here too. M2M is machine-to-machine communication. PCN is patient care networks, and that's basically the rise or the evolution of web-enabled XML SOAP calls over the internet through your company's firewall to your CEO's desk, and we'll talk about that in a second. We're not the first to look at this stuff. I mean, obviously we've made a lot of sci-fi and anime references. How many of you like Ghost in the Shell? Yeah. And Kevin Fu is, I think out of UW, he's got a medical device security center. Actually, it's pretty cool stuff. It's nice, once we were digging around and doing some of this initial research, we figured out, there's actually some people looking at this stuff. And there's actually a medical device security center with not a lot of papers up there, but still some kind of cool ideas and stuff. Gadi Evron has actually talked about this, I think, at 2063. Kono, Tamara Denning is actually a pretty prolific author in this space. Bruce Schneier has made some comments about malware on medical implants. Many of you probably already started looking at this stuff, I hope. And I think Arsenake's thought about some, what happens if we take just raw brain material and use it to do cracking on keys and stuff like that. So our focus is not on any specific device. Really, this is just kind of a general exploration of the space. And we're also, there's a couple of specific areas that we're going to look at, or devices. And we're also not looking at privacy, HIPAA laws, or ethics. A lot of the papers that are out there now at the Medical Device Security Center and a few other places, they really are focusing on HIPAA. They're focusing on laws. They're focusing on ethics. They're focusing on, is this really right, or not is this really right, but how do we protect the privacy of this stuff? And as we know, policy and compliance and regulations are not a solution. Attackers don't follow the rules, and honestly, as a defender, they don't really do me a whole lot of good. Maybe they kill some low-hanging fruit, but when this stuff starts getting into my enterprise network, I need to start thinking about it a lot differently beyond just the HIPAA compliance. So our focus is really looking at those attack and defense scenarios. We're going to do that by defining a cyborg security landscape. I'm going to show you how we sort of slice up cyborg functionality, and then go over some scenarios from an attack and defense perspective. So we're going to have to cut it a little short, though, since we're running out of time. Hackers don't have ethics. Well, that's not true. A lot do, but we're pretty chaotic.
When somebody's decided to pull the trigger on, taking an ODA and hitting a pacemaker or a liver implant or an insulin pump, we have to assume that ethics have kind of walked out the door. So we have to look at it from that perspective. There's no middle ground here. There's no rebooting the server for your liver. I mean,
in some sense, you could probably look at that as an attempted murder. So it would be just as much as if someone was trying to shoot somebody with a gun. You have sort of exigent circumstances for your defense, probably in such cases, I would guess.
right. And so, I mean,
Do you want to repeat what he said?
I don't remember.
I can't really. He says in some sense it basically comes down to murder, right? This was a point I think we were going to make at some point, but Bruce had mentioned earlier, like, hey, how do we prove stuff to our execs and the people who give us money to do things? Oh, we show them metrics. Okay, great, so I'm going to have a metric now. How many people didn't die on my network, right, this year? Or how many people did die from hacking attempts or intrusions into something?
Let's skip forward.
No, actually, go back a second. I just want to talk to... yeah, so again, another quote from Quinn Norton's brilliant talk. The body is just another programmable system. And one of the ways in which it is this concept called neuroplasticity. It's a really interesting concept. We're not going to go into it. Google it, look at it. It's fantastic. If you've watched Dollhouse or Fringe, you've probably heard references to it. Yes?
Think about inadvertent jamming. You don't mean to, it happens anyway.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi networks are jammed by microwave ovens.
So he's making a comment about inadvertent jamming of these devices, and we're going to actually talk about that a little bit. So this is a real brief. This is kind of how I've sort of organized my thinking about cyborgs. Right now, most of the technology or the integration of the technologies is focused on restoration, and then I'll talk a little bit about enhancement and augmentation in a second. Go ahead, next one. So right now, restoration. What is restoration? So we all have, we're humans, most of us, and we have basic capabilities, right? Arms, legs, sight, smell, sense. And for the most part, a lot of this technology, is, as you saw from some of the examples, is focusing really on restoring those capabilities that, for whatever reason, have been lost or damaged or maybe not even there to begin with. So a lot of the research and a lot of the commercial and medical technology that's out there now are doing that restoration function. And I've kind of tried to figure out, well, how do I interface with that as a person or as a human